I mean, I may be offending a few people by saying that, the B.Ed is the most useless program a teacher can do.
Is there anything we can do differently in our country than what we are doing right now?
The university changes and the city changes. I think the Indian education system is still very much rooted in its textbooks.
महाकवि राम भगत सिंह दिनकर जी की एक कविता है, शिक्षा जहां अबंध मुक्त है, उन देशों के लोगों को साथ लगा ले जो चाहे, पर कोई हाक नहीं सकता. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Welcome to today's episode of Changemakers in Education, Learning from the Leaders, a special podcast series by Sterlite EdIndia Foundation, where we dive into the world of education, exploring challenges, innovations, and inspiring stories that will hopefully shape the minds of tomorrow. Uh, they say it takes a village to raise a child, but in today's world, it seems like it takes a whole internet. Join us as we unpack the evolving landscape of education with our incredible guest, Mr. Yeshwanth Raj Parasmal. I welcome you, sir. And first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion. How is it feeling today?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yash, for having me on this podcast. I think I'm quite excited, to be able to share my views and thoughts with a larger audience, under this wonderful podcast.
So before we move on with our questions, I would like to throw just a brief light on Mr. Yashwanth's vast experience in how much he has done in world of education. Yashwanth is a founder and CEO of 21K School. He is a value-driven entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in the education sector. He has facilitated the establishment and management of over 75 educational institutes in India, including tribal and Naxal affected areas. Yashwanth has completed his MBA in Education Management from University of Southampton, UK, and is recognized widely as a leader in this sector. He is also honored with the UK Global Alumni Award in the year 2022. Sir, my first question to you is a bit personal, as you have studied in both India and abroad. So, what do you say are the key differences in education system you have experienced, and how have those differences shaped your perspective on learning or on teaching? And is there anything we can do differently in our country than what we are doing right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think, yeah, thanks, Yash. I think it's a very important question. So I'll go back to my school days, right? I mean, so right in grade nine, when I completed my grade nine, I stood 36th out of a class of 42 students. And I was very, written off by my teachers and by friends as, somebody who is not serious and who will probably be a failure in life, right? And that's where my parents thought that he needs some support. And for the first time, I was put up for tuition classes. So in the summer between grade 9 and grade 10 in my school, Mr. Devdas, who used to be the vice principal of Baldwin Boys High School, he taught me for the entire summer, almost every day. So that changed my perception about education completely. I understood, how powerful a medium education is, so much of knowledge, so much of concepts to understand. But I also understood that, had that personalized learning and flexible scheduling did not happen during that summer, I don't think I would have ever got excited about the schooling itself. The outcome of that was that, when we completed our board exams under the ICC board for grade 10, I stood sixth in the school, securing 83% out of a batch of 180 students. So I think what really changed me on or driven me on the path of schooling and education was that experience of being benefited by personalized flexible learning. So that was the moment where I decided that I want to commit my career to the development of education system in India, and that's how I started my journey working with Jain Group of institutions, building physical schools, exploring abroad. So I think the key difference that you asked about the Indian education system and abroad, I think the Indian education system is still very much rooted in its textbooks and concepts and metrics which are no longer useful, curriculum that is not even changing. Isn't it surprising that we changed our curriculum after almost 22 years for the school curriculum, the national curriculum framework that came in recently? The last national curriculum framework was 2005, and I think that's where the demerit is there. I mean, as a system, education system, I think the agility is missing. I had a very interesting perspective from UK, Yash. When I studied in UK, what my professors told me is that, you see the city of Southampton. The city of Southampton grew and changed its entire culture, social, economics, everything because of the University of Southampton. The university changes and the city changes. In India, you walk across any city or state, the city around us has changed completely, modernized, right? I mean, you can order on Blinkit or Zepto anything and you get it in 10 minutes. The world has changed. But unfortunately, our education institutions, right from our preschool, schools, college, university, hasn't changed at all. It's still rooted in that, 19th century and 20th century era. And I think we're all responsible for this, for change. I think so. That's the biggest difference I saw in terms of the education system abroad and in India.
Fantastic, fantastic. So online schooling has seen a 400% rise in enrollments after pandemic, with India's edtech market expected to reach more than 10.4 billion by 2025. But however, there are concerns about engagement, quality, access to digital infrastructure. I first of all want to know your vision about 21K School, how 21K School has pioneered the online school model in India, what inspired you to start the exclusively digital school, and what gaps did you see in traditional school?
Yeah. So I think so after I did my MBA in UK, I came back and started my own company called Strategem EduServe, where I was involved in helping investors in setting up schools, colleges, universities. These are the physical schools, colleges. So I knew that India needed not many schools in the rural areas. So I moved my base to Raipur in Chhattisgarh, and we help a lot of schools, institutions, edupreneurs to set up schools, colleges. So we've completed 75 such projects across India, largely in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, including like places like Dantewada in Chhattisgarh or Shivsagar, Bongegaon in Assam, which are Naxalite and Ulfa affected areas. Now, one such school that we had set up was Abhyuday School in Kavardha, Chhattisgarh. It's a very small district headquarter. At that time, the city population was about 50, 60,000. And we set up a beautiful school. And I was on a visit to a school in order to, preview in terms of the academic progress and others. And the principal was struggling to find a substitution for a teacher who had probably called sick. And I volunteered, say that, it's been, I would love to go and engage the students of grade 6. So I walked in the class and, I said, let's ask some general questions, whatever you have. And one child, Yash, he came up and asked me a question that has stayed with me till date. He asked me, sir, what is my fault? What is my crime that I'm born in Kavardha? Why can't I get the same education that my cousins get in Pune? It was very hard hitting. Of course, I managed to come out of this, escape out of it, giving him some, advice and understanding to use internet and so on. But that thought stayed to me. So when I visited USA in 2016, where I wanted to do some training on project-based learning and other aspects, I saw the online school prevalent there. That was the first time I was exposed to the idea of online schooling, and I was determined to bring this to India because I thought that's the only way where we can solve the problem of affordability, equity, and access to quality education. But of course, it also meant that you simply can't replicate what is working in the Western world in India because India is a very, very different country. So today, I'm very proud to say that 21K School is very different from any other online school in the world. When we started, we were the second online school in Asia. But today, we are the only school which, for example, sends a learning kit to all the students. We are the only school which conducts 100% live engaging classes, which offers multiple curriculums in India and outside India. Compared to even globally recognized online schools, our fees is just one tenth of what most of the online schools charge. So I think our mission is very simple. Can we be an alternative, for learners who are looking for more personalized, flexible learning, irrespective of where the child is staying or what economic parameters he has things. So that's what we started in 2019, in June 2020, driven by the adoption of online learning because of the pandemic. I think we were quickly to adapt to that trend, and today we have over 7,500 learners studying from 78 countries. And in India alone, we have learners coming from 600 cities. That's the reach that we have achieved in 5 years' time. And I think there is much, much more to be achieved in this space.
Correct. You talked about personalized learning, and I want to know, sir, do you think online schools can become mainstream or alternative to traditional schoolings in the next decade? I mean, what are the biggest barriers that you can think of right now? And also, is there some story behind the name 21K School? I
Right.
would love
Yeah.
to know that.
Correct. So I think online school is not looking to replace the traditional schools. I think rather it can, be a force multiplier or the digital twin of the physical school. I really don't see a scenario where AI, robotics, online schooling, any other form will replace the need for physical schooling, right? I mean, that's required. But there is absolutely a necessity for parents to have an option because of their circumstances, because of the economic, geographical, various needs and circumstances, that they should have an access to study in an online school. And that is what we are looking at it. So right now we have many students coming in from physical school who just want to study a couple of subjects at grade 9, 10, 11, 12 because the school does not offer that subject where they live and study. And of course, we also have full-time students studying right from nursery to grade 12. So it's not about and or situation. I think it's just about optionality from the parents perspective, from the child's perspective. There's absolutely, I think I definitely see that India has about 300 million learners. So even if 10% of the learners want to move into the online space, we're talking about almost 3 crore population looking at adopting to online school, and that's where the opportunity is there to solve for this problem. So the second aspect for the need for online schooling, if you look at it, there was an article published long time back in Times of India for Chennai, where they said that Chennai needs 2,000 physical schools to put every child in the school. 2,000 schools. The problem was not about the funds or teachers. There's no land that's available. 2,000 acres, assuming 1 acre per school, you simply don't have 2,000 acres of land in Chennai. And that's so these are the situations where the government, the policymakers, the society at large will have to adopt to online schooling sooner or later. So definitely it's already mainstream. It's a preferred choice among progressive parents. We were also looking at companies from the mining and heavy manufacturing background like Sterlite and others. So a lot of these employees work out of remote locations. And it will only help if they stay with the family where the child is studying in the online school like 21K school. And so that could also be a use case for online schooling. Now, regarding that question about 21K school name, I keep, asked quite often for this. So it's a very simple story, right? I mean, as I said earlier, that I was very sure that what works in Western world or physical school will not work in the online school that we wanted to build. So the pedagogy and approach that we are using is called as a flip learning model. So flip learning in a very layman language is homework becomes classwork, classwork becomes homework, right? And 21K is a flip of K12. So it denotes the flip learning model that we use at 21K school. So that's why we simply flipped K12 to make it 21K school.
Great, great. So my next question is: online education has often faced criticism for lacking depth and engagement of traditional learning. Concerns include attention spans, increased distractions, the rise of online scams and security threats. So, how can online schools address these challenges to ensure that students receive a holistic and immersive learning experience.
No, you're right. I think I've also heard about those stories. So the problem is from the design perspective, right? I mean, so when 21K School was built, when we started, we were designed to be an digital first school. So if you look at our platform, systems, tools, our training given to the teachers, everything is designed to be a digital school, right? So we absolutely don't face any such issues in terms of, especially with the cyber security, cyber bullying, or the lack of attention span, because there's a lot more data that we collect about the learners. But the problem comes where there are other online schools which have recording as a classes. They don't conduct 100% live classes, or they have very large section size. So in our school, we just have 24 learners in one class, which is at par with internationally affiliated schools in the country as well. So pedagogy is again very different in terms of, as I said, it's flipped learning model, project-based learning, activity-based learning. So all these approaches is where we have seen learners being deeply engaged right from the kindergarten or early years till up to grade 12. So by default, for example, cameras have to be turned on. We have a digital library, we have a virtual lab. The quality dynamics and the data that we collect about learning is far more superior. We have a personalized learning engine where I can track. So it's a very possible that in a class of grade 4, there may be some students who are solving grade 6 problem, while some students are solving grade 2 level problem based on where they are in the learning journey. So all this tools is what makes the engagement very enriching, engaging, and very much productive. So for example, at the PTM, my teachers are able to give a very insightful feedback to the parents. I'll give you one example. There was one, Akshita, I think if I'm remembering it, name, Akshita was a child, and her parents came from the first generation learners, right? So when they attended the half-yearly PTM, they were very impressed that my daughter scored, 78 out of 100 and all that things. But the teacher was not happy. The teacher told the parent that, look, your child is able to read English, but she's not comprehending English. That insightful data driven feedback saying that where and which concept and what skill areas the child is lacking, that much of data that we have, and that's how we are using technology to improve learning outcomes, and which has been a game changer for parents who have trusted with 21K school.
Uh, Sir, are there any few solutions that you can think of that we can do something like this on policy level? So something like this is accessible to everyone.
Oh, absolutely. So I think we've been experimenting with the idea. So if you look at, even India has 15 lakh schools, right? And out of that 15 lakh schools, if my memory is right, only about 3 to 4 lakh schools are actually offer schooling up to grade 12.
Yes,
Majority of
yes.
the school is only up to the primary level or middle school level. Now, let's look at the same, a typical, wherever you're based out of, let's say Nagpur, where you come from. At Nagpur, there is, a little semi-urban area where there's a government school which is only offering till grade 5 or grade 8. Now, instantly with online schooling, with using technology, you can upgrade that school to middle school and senior secondary school by just bringing in internet and laptop for the learners. You don't need teachers teaching, teachers from anywhere, from Maharashtra, from outside India, or within India, in any part of the country. You can get teachers to teach those kids at home, and where the existing facilitators, even the primary school facilitators, can actually help the kids in terms of revising concepts and things. So it could be a post multiplier, for such systems where you can look at it. The other use case which we have seen is that India has large number of learners with physical disabilities. I'm not talking about learning disabilities or mental abilities, just the physical disability where they are wheelchair bound, and it's a pain and a struggle, both emotional as well as physical, for the kid to just to travel to the school every day. For such kids, again, it could be a wonderful opportunity just to connect via the our platform and participate in a global scheme, right? So that's the thing. And the third and the biggest use case which we have seen is that unfortunately in India today we have a caste system and education system. A child who's studying in an IB board is supposed to be very rich and properly above rich. Then you have Cambridge board, then you have CBSE, then ICSE, then NIS, and then the state boards. So based on which school and which board you're studying, your social status is getting attached. I mean, which is very unfortunate because ultimately the concepts wise, skill wise, all the boards, aim to deliver the same skills and concepts. And this can be broken very easily with the online school. So a child from a very remote, let's say tribal affected area can sit in the same classroom where I have learners from cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, or Dubai, and Tokyo or Singapore to attend and share their learning experience. I mean, imagine the kind of self-esteem, the growth, the understanding, the persona that gets developed when in the same class, irrespective of where you're studying, you have students from multiple cities. That's why today, we have students from 78 countries, and that's enriching the entire experience of learning.
Correct. Rightfully said, sir. Uh, a key challenge for online education is replicating hands-on real-world experiences that are crucial for deep learning and skill development. Research shows that students retain up to 75% more knowledge through experimental learning, yet online models often lack physical interactions, experiments, and real-time group problem solving. So what do you think about this? I mean, जाने अनजाने में बहुत सारी चीजें जो हमें सिखाई भी नहीं जाती, we just adapt to that those kind of things. So what do you think about this generally?
Well, so that's an interesting perspective. Again, it's an important aspect. I won't deny that this is not important. But if you think of it, right, I mean, so the socialization that happens in the school is among 40 students or 30 students in the classroom who do not share a common passion or common interest. So, have you ever heard of any school actually being instrumental in preparing a sportsperson to represent India at the national games? So what happens, let's say that I am studying in a school and I want to learn cricket and the school teaches cricket also. But I'm playing cricket with a group of friends or classmates who are not interested in making cricket as a career. So eventually I have to go to a cricket academy where I get professional level training. I'm playing with, people of same age group who have the same passion and interest to make a career out of cricket. Now that's where my skills getting enhanced. So what is happening? Because obviously, we've all gone through a physical schooling, so we have that bias of affiliation, saying that this is how even my kid should learn. But the kids of this generation are completely different. We were not born in 21st century, and our kids who are born in 21st century can't really be taught the ways and means of how we have learned and interacted. See, when I went to the school, there was no internet, there was no use of laptop in the classrooms, there were no smart boards, there was no banking system, there were no digital tools, there was no YouTube, there was nothing. I mean, learning was simply based on whatever the teacher taught or maybe the tuition teacher. I didn't had a third source of learning. Today, a kid is exposed to multiple ways of learning. Internet could be a beautiful way of learning if you know the right sources. And that's why we see that in our kids today. You'll be surprised, Yash, that we recently released a book called The Pathfinders, which we captured 101 stories of learners who, while during the normal course of schooling with 21K, have went on to accomplish like registering a patent, starting a startup, incubating a business at IIT Jodhpur, working full time, following the passion for sports, or spreading the need for bringing more women in the STEM education. So the kids, if they are able to follow their passion, they will eventually socialize with the people who are driven by the common passion. I mean, which happens in an online platform as well. And I agree that there may be certain skills like maybe cooking, maybe physical sports, maybe playing musical instruments. There are certain limitations that you can't do, but rest everything, including the science labs, practicals, critical thinking, collaboration, communication skills, problem solving, everything could be very, very well developed in the online school because the child is also getting 5 hours of free time while being at 21K school.
Yes. So as we discussed about variety of things a student can do. So there's this debate on internet right now that Indians, especially Indian students, should learn. We should focus more on life skills than kind of subjects we are teaching them in schools, life skills or civics. Like in Japan, they make their students clean
Yeah.
schools. So there's this sense of responsibility that this is my country and it is my responsibility to keep it clean. So do you think there is need of something like this in India? And what at this point we can do, like small steps?
See, I'm glad that you're asking that question because if you go traditionally, the Indian education system, right, it was always that way. I mean, we don't really have to learn from Japan. If you look
Mhm.
at historically, when we talk about Gurukul system or the Vedic schools, it was always meant to be that way. I mean, knowledge was very segmented, and you also get knowledge from your family, right? I mean, that's where an artisan's son would always become an artisan because he's learning those skills from that father, right? I mean, today we have obviously disrupted that entire structure of the social fabric. And even within the structure today, because thanks to the chat GPT and AI, what parents are not realizing today is that, when probably when I was in the college with the internet era, data and information became free, right? I mean, data and information was available through Google search. Today with chat GPT, knowledge is free. I can get knowledge about, I need not be a doctor, but I can understand what prescription doctor is giving. I don't have to be a scientist, but I can learn everything about thing. I mean, I don't know how many people know, but Elon Musk was never designed to build a spaceship. He learned it everything on YouTube, reading books and doing his own research, right? And that knowledge is today completely free and available. But what will never be able to be done using even AI or whatever tools is the skills of execution. I mean, it's a very interesting, anecdote that I have learned. Like my son is also part of 21K school, Hriday, and he studied for last 5 years, and he wants to represent India in cycling. And so on his birthday last year, he said, Papa, I want my birthday theme to be around cycling. And I was like, I couldn't think of any ideas. I spoke to a couple of event managers also. They said, no, sir, we've never done anything on cycling as a theme. So I used ChatGPT. ChatGPT gave me a beautiful invitation card, design, menu, games, everything, right? But who's going to execute that plan?
Mm.
I mean, I've got a list of games, but I don't know how to execute those games in reality, right? So that knowledge of how to design an event based on cycling theme, I had that knowledge, but I didn't have the skills to execute that plan. And that's where I think our schools need to strengthen education system, curriculum. Yes, today we just spend 3 hours a week, 15 hours a week to complete our primary school curriculum. And we follow and complete the exact entire curriculum that is taught in any other school. A child who passes out from 21K school will easily get admission in any reputed school. There is no cutting of the curriculum, right? But why are the schools spending 6.5 hours to complete the same curriculum? Imagine if we reduce that for 3 hours and spend 3 hours on this life skills, which our kids are doing, it'll be a game changer because that's where you need to develop your persona. I mean, your communication, all this, 21st century skills that we speak about. It's unfortunately, we are getting, as an institution, we are so involved in that textbook approach that we are not finding time to develop these critical skills, which is so much more important. And which rightly you brought up that some of the leading education system, whether it's Finland, Sweden, Japan, they're already focusing on these skills.
Yes, yes. So my next question is while online learning is growing, over 50% of Indian students still lack access to digital education due to infrastructure or affordability challenges. How do you think we can bridge this digital divide to ensure quality education reaches every child, especially in rural or underprivileged communities? And what role can public-private partnerships play in making this tech-driven education accessible to all?
I didn't know. I wouldn't really agree with you because today I feel that there is no digital divide. I think there's a divide in terms of how to use the digital tool. Thanks to Airtel, Geo, and other plans, right? And where 5G phone is available for at a cost of less than 5,000 rupees. And I think I was there at the Viksit Bharat roundtable yesterday, and I heard that 94% of school-going children have access to internet. But the problem is they don't know what to do with that internet. where to go and search. So eventually they're actually using YouTube for entertainment, you for watching movies or playing games, and that's an opportunity lost. But the digital infrastructure, the government of India has done fantastic work. And it's a known fact that across the world, we have the cheapest internet at 5G level available. Nowhere on the planet you have a cheaper internet available. So it's a huge infrastructure that's already been created. What is missing is the drive and the approach to make the learners adopt and use that technology, the internet, the devices for focused learning, and that's where it's the opportunity is being missed.
I mean, even if there's infrastructure, we still have to focus on digital literacy, as you said.
Correct, because somehow I think a lot of schools are close to the idea of introducing technology in the classroom. You still have computers as a period, right, where you get only 2 hours in a week to use computer. Why? I mean, can you imagine working in the professional world in any business where you don't have computers to be used or you're supposed to use only 2 hours in a month? They should be using day in and day out in the classroom, outside the classroom. I mean, without computers, if you're not learning how to make presentations, PowerPoint, Canva, how to write emails, how are you going to go and work? And then we speak about the gap in skills, employability. See, isn't it very ridiculous problem to say that at one place we have companies advertising lakhs and lakhs of jobs available, and other place we have youth of this country who are not finding the job because I'm not finding a person with the right skills. So the child, who's coming to me for a job does not have the skills, and that's why I am not able to fulfill those vacancy. So the schools have to bring in the technology. They will have to give the laptop to every child. You can't have a child passing out from 12th not knowing how to use Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Canva, and these tools, right? I mean, that's such a shame. I mean, irrespective of how much marks he gets in board exams, if he doesn't know how to prepare a PowerPoint presentation, I mean, I don't know what he'll do in life.
Yes, yes. So the reality is, I'm from a really small town, and I had a computer lab in my school, but it was never accessible to students. It was just there for the sake of it. And the reality is, I graduated from a big city, and half the students in my college didn't even know how to send a mail. That's
That's,
email.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
so you're talking about just 5, 6 years back, right?
I graduated few months back, sir.
Yeah. See, I mean, so that's where, I mean, I said, to the CIA platform also, the road to Viksit Bharat vision, the developed India by 2047, passes through the schools of India. If there is no Viksit schools, there are no developed schools in the country, there is no way that we can have, a developed India vision coming to through. Because 2047, yes, we are 22 years away from that, which means the people who are going to be the youth at 2047 are probably not even in the school today. And if the kids are going to pass out from the school not knowing how to use the computer, not knowing how to use AI, not knowing use the tech tools, what kind of developed India are we building? So I think if there's I think there has to be a national emergency call to improve the school, to allow use of technology at all levels liberally.
Definitely. So as we were discussing, you mentioned AI, and AI-driven tools are revolutionizing education. But studies by the World Economic Forum show that fully AI-driven classrooms see 40% drop in student engagement,
Yes,
and also there are some restraints like as AI is generative only. So
correct,
what there's on internet, so there can be some biases, so
right.
that data is human made only. So do you believe AI in education is opportunity or a challenge? And how can AI be integrated without replacing the role of teachers in child's learning journey?
So the way we have seen AI, right? So AI in education needs to be split into three parts. One, what AI can do for the child, what AI can do for the teachers, what AI can do for the administrative principal leaders or the school management, right? For the child, I think AI should not be exposed at all. I think there's absolutely until they skills in terms of reasoning, critical thinking is majorly developed. Till then AI should be. But AI, the way we are using it is to improve the learning outcomes, to reduce the clerical work which a teacher does, right? So today, when we do a weekly assessments or any kind of formative assessments, I mean, we use the tool systems which generates analysis, reports everything, and gives me a detailed feedback about the child almost instantly. Now, that is where I'm reducing the clerical work of a teacher who otherwise would have sat and used that red pen and then corrected 40 papers, right? I mean, to give that homework, assignments, all those things can be automated, whether you call it AI or automation. I think that's where you can leverage the AI and tools. So, including my administration, if I have a data dashboard like today we have about every learner, every teacher's performance, I can actually pinpoint which child is struggling at which concept at what level and correct him then and there rather than waiting for the end of the year like it happened to me that somebody came and told me ये तो डफर है ये कुछ नहीं कर सकता. But somebody had identified those learning gaps right in the beginning, maybe in grade 4 5 itself. Would have been a buffer. Maybe I would have, probably today I would have cleared UPSC exams also, or instead of doing just an MBA. Should have been done much more earlier in the journey of the child's learning, rather than waiting. And all these aspects is where the AI and technology can be extremely helpful. AI should not be a scope or opportunity where the child is simply putting in his assignment, generating an answer, copying and pasting. That will be destructive. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, rightfully said, sir. So, as we were discussing about digital literacy, but sir, the research from Asser Foundation highlights that less than 15% of Indian teachers receive continuous professional training, which directly affects student outcomes. What are the key gaps in teacher training today, and how can we address them? In short, I want to know how can we make our teachers better prepared for what's coming ahead.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's a huge, huge gap. I mean, I may be offending a few people by saying that, the B.Ed is the most useless program a teacher can do. And it's because of the way the curriculum is structured. See, you need only two aspects to teach a child, right? One is your ability to communicate and engage with the child, and second is your knowledge. So, a B.Ed teacher is already a graduate. You don't really need him to or her to teach any additional concepts level. And you simply don't need 2 years to train the teacher to become a good teacher. And even in that 2 years, we're not introducing them to the tech tools. We are not introducing advanced teaching pedagogies, project-based learning, activity-based learning, how to design the curriculum. You're not teaching them anything. I think in just 6 months' time, you can actually prepare a teacher to go into the school and then teach. Why there should be a lakhs and crores of vacancies? Because you see the cost, because a person today is graduating and is looking for the job, but you ask him to work for another 2 years, and the B.Ed college fees is exorbitantly high, and after 2 years I'm not getting a job which is even paying me 15 to 18,000 rupees per year. Why will I want to do a B.Ed? Why would I want to be a teacher? Why can't you vocationalize this education just like you have ITIs, where you do a 6 months, 1 year course, and you can, you started working in the shop floors. Why can't you come out with a 6 month and 12 month course and recognize that as a eligibility criteria and allow the teachers to teach up to 12th? You don't really need a very high level concepts to teach in the school. Even at 11th and 12th, the concepts that's required is already covered and taught to you at the graduation level. You don't really need to be a master's and 2 year B.Ed qualified to teach the students. That's absolutely incorrect approach. And especially in India, in the current circumstances where we have huge gap in terms of vacancies available in government schools, and why these vacancies are not being filled up, because they need B.Ed as a qualification. On top of B.Ed, they've added CTET also. That's the most ridiculous thing I've seen. You're not confident about your own education system. You want the teachers to pass another eligibility test to tell whether the university has taught you well or not. I think that's the most ridiculous thing that I have heard. I know, I mean, I'm getting a little more overboard, but that's the sad reality. I mean, I find some fantastic candidates who are doctors, who are chartered accountants, who are MBA graduates, who are BCom graduates. They're not B.Ed. but they're so passionate about teaching, and I'm not able to hire them because my regulation says that you can't hire anybody without B.Ed. It's a loss for the learners, it's loss for the society. And
Yes.
you just need 6 months of training at the most, and you can prepare anyone to go and engage in the physical or online classes. You don't need B.Ed
Right.
unless those transformation is not made at the root cause level. It's all at the policy level. Change in education system is going to be very hard. Because one, you are getting teachers in the classrooms who are not trained enough, who are not motivated enough, because they're not seeing the right approach towards the learning their own career path. And second, your own curriculum, textbooks, your infrastructure, everything is again rooted in 19th century.
Yes. Fair. Sir, in 2023, APU published a study, and according to that, only 7% of high performing students in India consider teaching as a career. Uh, Over the years in India, we have seen teaching as a profession has been undervalued. More than 1.4 lakh school operate with only one teacher, and we have more than 8 lakh vacancies vacant in India. And you talk about CTET also. Last year, the passing percentage of examination was just 16 point something percentage. And so my question is, how can we make teaching as aspirational profession in India, and what policy or grassroots level initiatives are needed to redefine the perception of teaching in India? I mean, it's definitely sure we need more teachers, good qualified, well qualified teachers. So, what do you think about this?
It's hard. I think so. There are two aspects of it, right? One is that education as a whole, as I was mentioning earlier, is way behind compared to the changes that's happening in the economy as a whole, right? Now, because of that, there have been plenty of new avenues for work, for career, which is far more enriching, far more, well-paying, and far more flexible and enjoyable, right? So today, I can be a radio jockey, for instance, without just passing 12th and doing some certificate course. I can become a radio jockey and I can earn easily a lakh rupees per month. When I can do that very easily, why would I want to become a teacher? So it's because of the way the other career options have opened up, right? Today, a normal Uber guy is earning more than a teacher is being paid in the school. Isn't that a concern that we should be addressing? And that will happen only when, as an education system, we evolve and we improve, right? And that can happen only when we open up the gates for the education institutions to allow for-profit private institutions. Like I think so my thought process was more about allowing large companies to set up schools, to bring in venture capital fund, to bring in private equity fund, and commercialize the education to an extent where it becomes competitive to attract good talent. And good talent, when there is a competition to attract good talent, the salaries will go up. And once the salaries go up, there will be people who will be looking to come and teach, because at this current salary scale where you're being paid 15, 18, 20, 25,000, and where every year the increment is 3% per year, what is the future for the person who's going to join? In a school which has 100 teachers and only one principal, and I have to wait for about 15 to 20 years to become a principal, who is going to be excited about that career prospect? But so we are looking at, so that's one aspect from the economic and career perspective. The second aspect, where I think we have, as a society, we have failed miserably, is that giving respect to the teachers as a profession. The pride of being a teacher is lost because of the legal legislations. You can't discipline the child. You can't, speak harshly. There are instances where the parents have gone and even manhandled the teachers. The respect for the teachers. The parents see that I have paid the fees. You better deliver the scope of work, whatever is required. I think that degenerative practice of degenerating the teachers has hit the professional and my fraternity members deeply. So even if a person is committed and passionate that, okay, I'm not worried about my salary because of whatever is my career choices, but can I look at contributing something back to the society? So what the teacher is expecting is some respect. Just celebrating Teachers Day once in a year is not the respect. I think I really appreciate what Modi ji has done in terms of, engaging the teachers, building up the award system, recognition for the CBSE boards. It's been a fantastic, but as a society, we need to come together and respect our teachers far more. I think that's the sad part. I mean, you see that in social media, you see that
Yes.
thing, right? The teachers are not being respected, not being. We used to touch the feet of teachers, whenever they used to come home, also, right? I mean, that was the respect we had, and we have lost that respect, right? I mean, as parents, I think we are responsible for that degenerative. Because I'll tell you, even today, I think my academic crew, I have over 300 teachers, and everyone is driven by the passion to make a difference to the child. I don't think we are paying something substantially high. I mean, our average salary is about 35 to 40,000, but that's not really substantially high compared to the career vocations which a child or person is getting today. I mean, so that the mix of a good, reasonably decent salary, along with the respect for the profession as a society, whether it's media, social media, government policy, I think can bring back the pride of being a teacher.
Fair. So adding to your point, a candidate just has to pass plus two to teach primary school in India, and to teach high school we need B.Ed plus graduation. But what we are failing to understand, that those students are the same who will be in 10th standard after coming from that teacher in primary schools. In matter of fact, in countries like Finland, primary school teachers are respected economically also, pay scale wise also,
Correct.
more than high school teachers. So which is creating a difference there. So
Correct. In Finland, the teaching profession is the most highest paid profession among
paid
all the
profession, yes.
professions in Finland. And that's not by choice, right? Of course, India has a different challenge. In the number of teachers in India is equivalent to the entire population of Finland. So, I mean, so you really can't play that high scale. But what we can
Yes.
definitely do is give more respect, recognition for the teachers.
Yes, definitely. So education is journey, not just destination. It's about lighting the fire of curiosity, not just filling a bucket. As we close out today's episode, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank our amazing guest for joining us and for the wonderful discussion we have shared. Any final thoughts from your side, sir?
No, I mean, I really want to thank you, as being a corporate entity, for taking this initiative to light the lamp of wisdom and awareness. I think I hope that this podcast, does raise a few eyebrows, does make a few policymakers to think about it, and meets the objective that you have in terms of, leading the change. So thank you, Sterlite EdIndia, for having me on this podcast.
Definitely, sir. And well, organizations like Sterlite India and 21K School believe in only vision that every child in the country should have access to quality education. And thank you once again for this truly enriching discussion. It's been an honor to explore these ideas with you. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.